I was going to start with only my last book, but based on some of the things that were said today, I'm going to read a poem that has a very different mood, because poems have mood just like people have moods. And this poem is from my first book of poetry entitled Unfurling, which was a blessed book in a sense that it was a bestseller. We sold about 7,000 copies of this book. For poetry, usually it's 2,000, so 7,000 was a bit in the first 6 months, so alhamdulillah. We talk about unity a lot, and this poem addresses it in a different way. This poem is entitled The Decree. The judge wields the gavel, pounding it on the scarred table. Crack! The sound landing hard on our sensitized hearing. We hold our breath. Terrible silence descends. The prosecution rests. We wait restlessly. The verdict is pronounced. The hush thickens. Every Muslim, Jew, Christian, Black, Indian, Chicano, guilty, guilty, guilty for daring to exist, for straining to survive. Cheers ring out as the lynching mob moves in, giddily slapping their comrades' backs, amassing atop mountains of ashes, jostling over their clean, easy kill. As bowed, chained tolerance is led away, sucking in its tumultuous passing, assassinated freedom, brotherhood, unity of faiths, unity of people. A void looms, dotted with the remainder of their scattered ashes. Our fear rises, waves of despair threatening to drown us, seeking an escape from it, the inescapable. Gulping, gasping, we head out the door. Breathe in the stench of ashes. Will the tides of change bring forth a rebirth? So I kind of deviate from my proposed beginning, which I'll go into now. And thank you very much, Rima, for the invitation. I'm here on a book tour to launch this new book. The book has received quite a few reviews, alhamdulillah, from scholars such as Sayyid Hussein Nasr, Umid Safi, calligraphers like Muhammad Zakaria, and the musician Sami Yusuf, and a lot of others. It's another phase in writing, because writers, I'm as a writer, as a poet, we go through phases in writing, so the mood is going to change. And when we think about it, when I come to think about different things, I think from the very first breath we draw, from the moment of inception, we are thinking, and we are seeking, and we are yearning and longing. And what are we longing for? What are we seeking? All of us. We are seeking for unity. A unity that bridges the rupture that we feel on an elemental, unknowing yet knowing level, a unity with the One. Regardless of our faith, whether we're Muslims, Christians, Jews, Baha'is, Sikhs, Buddhists, we all feel that rupture of the connection with the One. And we're all seekers in the path. These poems that I'll be reading today are poems of longing and seeking. And I'll start with a poem entitled Fire of Creation. The cure was present from the second of inception of the human and non-human birth. The starting points of the felt and unfelt spirits with creation's inception. Can we ever realize the magnitude of the single thought, word, action which stroked the fire of it all? Can we find each soul's elemental light sparkling and hidden, balanced and unobtrusive? Will the soul's rooting soil be revered? Can we find the essential peace that turns the wheel of creation? As the cure to it all revives silently, yet surely, and the spokes and the elemental essences rise, burst, and flare. I was very much affected in these poems before I started writing on this path, by Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi and Hafiz and Saadi and Rabban Adawiyya. The next poem starts with Come Come, which for those of you who read Maulana Rumi are very familiar with, but it then goes on a different trend. This poem is entitled The Arena. Come, come, come face to face with yourself. Rekindle the flame of truth. Look past the frayed, the marred, the stain of imposed, dictated musts. Let the chambers, walls, and doors implode into a new arena where the face-to-face brings forth a rebirth and the pathmaker supersedes all. One of the very interesting things about Sufi thought, for example, or Sufi practices, and I'm not going to push the Sufi philosophy on you, is dhikr, which we do quite often at certain times at Maghrib and at Fajr. And so this book, by the way, before I go into that, this book is heavily illustrated. I worked very hard in the illustrations, and I put in a special request with the publisher to approve and actually sign off on every single graphic element, because I've been involved with graphics and I've worked with graphic artists and calligraphers. So the choices of the flow and the choices of the graphics themselves were mine. I drew some, but the majority were not drawn by me. The graphic elements, I had a whole list of graphic elements that I've favored through the years that I went in with when I met with the publisher. So I went to Turkey about 3 times last year. This, for example, this is one of my favorites. It has Muhammad the Conqueror, Muhammad al-Fatih, Constantinople. And these two poems relate to each other. One is entitled Nightly Devotions. The other is entitled Nightly Pilgrimage. I'll be reading both. They're very short. Nightly Devotions. The night after night journey leaves the exhausted soul seeking promised shelter as rivers of desperation, as thankful palms are persistently raised, as chants, salawat, takbirs are raised, as his names are passionately invoked. The turning of the planets in the upper realm are but a minute happening when the angels look down and dive through the worlds to listen to souls speeding on a flight of devotional rapture. Next poem, Nightly Pilgrimage. I always thought the idea of a pilgrimage, the once-in-a-lifetime dream that many of us, Muslims, Christians, a lot of different faiths have this idea of going on a pilgrimage. And it's a journey that we yearn for. It's a journey, it's a dream, basically. I was thinking, should it be just a once-in-a-lifetime event? A once-in-a-lifetime dream? Or is it something more? Is there something called an inner pilgrimage? And so it led to this poem, which is Nightly Pilgrimage. We go on a pilgrimage every night with the turning of the sailing stars. The pilgrimage of the soul tugs and pulls in the realm of love. Will the nightly pilgrimage be observed? Will it be heeded? Why even ask? It is more than enough to make the ascension. And now I'll share a poem Dr. Hiba mentioned. Sorry, 5 more minutes, okay. I'll read one more poem, which is a poem, you were talking about words and the Quran being universal, which a lot of us really believe in, and you brought it home to us today, so thank you very much. This poem is entitled The Revered Word. I have 2 poems of the Quran in the book. The Revered Word. We reside in the land of words and letters, where letters burst forth with every drop of water, poured forth with floods of rain, where letters were birthed with the birthing of humanity, as every word became an island to live on. Every word became a wave racing along the coasts, a haven in the scorching heat, a balm under the shading palm trees. As uncharted history unfolded its pages in reams of forgotten ages, and the world of words rose, amassed, coalesced, through poems and celebrated songs, perfuming the very air with revered resonance. As the blade of the mighty, magnificent pen sliced through to conquered reason, carrying forth the message, and Amana, the trusted messenger, bore forth the ultimate of ultimates in words beyond the ken, unsurpassed eloquence, mighty wisdom, and savored, solid passages for mankind to live by and be lived. I will end quickly with a poem also about the Quran. and it has a very, one term which is nur ala nur, and which means light upon light. This poem is entitled Living Landscape of Souls. And it's actually written to be sung, which I'm not going to sing it tonight. The living landscape of our souls extends a welcome as every curved word, letter, verse, chapter sends forth peace. Light upon light, nurun ala nur. The beloved's light glints through the pages of time. A friend leading us to the friend. We imbibe your flavor through our thirsty souls. Gain messages of mercy, wisdom, succor, ease. Through the storybook of all storybooks. The melodies of your voice guide us, and aim for the aimless. Galaxy, stars, turn away in shame. A million suns dim in acquiescent respect of your light. Light upon light, nurun ala nur. Soaring, uplifting, recitations resound as the very foundations of our inner center fall silent in humble obedience. With al-kalimat at-tammat, the whole words, and embrace the sacred text in utter submission. Your majesty of light brushes the landscape of our soul. We traverse this existence through the guiding light. Nurun ala nur, light upon light. Nurun ala nur.